have to have probably pretty good pressure to get all the way down there to those, at the end of the derm, between the dermis and the sub-Q. Whereas where are your tactile, or your, excuse me, your Merkel discs? Right at the epidermis dermis connection. Okay, they're right there at the very top of the skin where your Meissners are throughout your dermis. Okay, so it's gonna, the different levels of also layers are gonna also give you the different sensation of touch because it has to do more pressure to get down to those sensory neurons. Okay. Very good. So we talked about Merkel discs. We'll go back a little bit here and talk about melanocytes. How many types of skin pigments are there?
6.
3. 3 categories of skin pigments. I guess there are a lot more. You need to know 3 main categories. Okay. First one is your melanin, which has 2 types of melanin, depending on what color you need. So which one does pink to red? Or I should say yellow to red? Pheomelanin. Okay. Orange and red make, yellow and red makes orange, and the O in pheomelanin. And what is eumelanin? Brown and black. What happens when you mix brown and black? Eumelanin. If it helps. You'll be in there in the testing center and go, and someone will say, ow, eumelanin. You watch. You'll be in there taking tests together and you go, oh, he's got an eumelanin test question. All right, so yeah, so eumelanin, that's, and pheomelanin, that's what we normally see on the blood, on the skin. So it makes up moles, freckles, birthmarks, your skin tone, things of that effect. When you're out in the sun, you have a stimulation of eumelanin. Well, first of all, you're going to have blood because of the sunburn, but then it's going to go to the eumelanin when the skin darkens. Okay, so hemoglobin does what? Carries oxygen in the blood. Okay, what happens when you get a whole bunch of blood near the surface of the skin? It turns it red. Okay, blushing, sunburns, infections, anything like that is going to turn your skin a different color. There are people who have really light skin, and their blood vessels and the blood can be seen more, and it actually turns the skin a lighter shade of pink than most people's. Okay, a lot of people have pink rosy cheeks. Okay, that's because the hemoglobin, the blood, is closer to the skin than other people. Okay. What about carotene? Orangish. And where do you get carotenes from? Carrots. What? Tomatoes, I think, has some. I was thinking.
Sweet potatoes?
I don't
Or
know.
are they just more starch?
It's colored fruits and vegetables. Carrots, tomatoes, beets have a lot of that stuff in it. And it'll actually, if you eat too much of it, it'll actually turn your skin either more red or more orange.
Permanently?
No. Just for a while until you allow the system to work those carotenes out and turn them into vitamin A, and then they can be used in other places and things. But when you have an overabundance of them, your body can't handle them, and so they store them, because vitamin A is a what? Fat soluble. Okay, so you store fat soluble. So they store that because they want the vitamin A. Store it in the skin, turn your skin different colors. Okay. You can also have liver failure, which we'll talk about next semester when you have liver failure. Heme, which is the molecule that actually holds the oxygen in hemoglobin, when we break that down because the red blood cells are old and need to be replaced, that goes to the liver to be processed. If it can't, if the liver's not working, that heme that we broke down out of the blood cells goes to the skin and turns our blood, or our skin, what color? Yellow. We call that jaundice. Exactly. So understand that liver failure will make your skin go yellow. Or why do infants, brand new babies, why do they have jaundice?
Not producing enough.
They haven't been able to get all that.
They're not breaking it all down, it's not going out.
No. What are the two organs in a fetus that aren't used? The liver and the lungs. Do you need to oxygenate blood when you're in the womb? No. Do you need to filter blood when you're in the womb? No. Okay, so the kidneys, kidneys are a lot less, but the liver and the lungs aren't being used by the fetus. So sometimes the babies, when they're first born, they haven't got those, or I should say the liver hasn't quite been jump-started quite yet. And so they'll go jaundice because they haven't been able to filter the blood quite as well.
Is that what the lights do, is to kickstart the liver?
Yeah, what it does is it actually stimulates the skin to produce vitamin D, which goes to the liver and jump-starts the liver so that it starts to, that's why UV light is important in children, is to get that vitamin D not only for bone production, but also for liver production. I shouldn't say production, but liver activity.
Seems like most babies have jaundice.
Yeah, a lot of them do, because it takes a little while for that liver to start working, start filtering the blood once it's outside the mother, because there's a ligament, actually there's a blood vessel that bypasses the liver, and it takes time for that to completely close off after birth, so that it doesn't no longer bypass the liver. So even after birth, you have a little bit of bypassing of the blood, especially same thing with the lungs and the heart. Okay, the heart, you've heard about the hole in the heart. Children have holes in their heart and it doesn't quite close up, and they have problems with blood flowing from one side to the other. And also, sometimes they'll have a hard time oxygenating their blood because their lungs, and also another artery that goes from the heart, the right side of the heart, straight to the aorta. Instead of going from the right side to the lungs, to the left side and then to the aorta, you go straight from the right side, then to the aorta. And if that doesn't close off right away, they're still pushing unoxygenated blood into the aorta. So they have to sometimes manually get those and go in and close those up, as well as the heart and the liver. So if those don't close up and become ligaments to hold the aorta in place afterwards, then you can have issues. But jaundice is just from liver failure, is what you guys, and it turns the skin yellow. Okay. The dermis itself has how many regions? Two. And they are the papillary and the reticular. How much of the papillary, or how much of the dermis is the papillary? 1/5 or 20%. Okay. What else is in the dermis? We already talked about the retroculi. Well, your nerve sensories, all the Meissners, the Pacinian, the free nerve endings.
Talking papillary?
In the dermis.
Oh,
So we've got nerves and muscles. What else? Sweat glands. Oil glands. Hair follicles. Blood vessels. Very good. Those are important, because does the epidermis have any blood vessels in it? No. So technically, do the cells in the epidermis live very long? No, because the farther away they get from the basal layer, or stratum basal, they start dying, because blood can only diffuse so far into the epidermis. Okay, so the farther away, that's where they start dying. Nucleus gets booted, organelles get booted and it's just a bag of keratin. Okay, which is good for us because that helps not only protect us, but we don't have to do as much maintenance. Okay, so if you get a cut just in the epidermis, does it bleed?
So it'd be just like a scratch.
Yeah, like you're walking by that little cement wall and you kind of bump it and it just kind of pulls the top little layer of skin off. Does it bleed? Not really. Does it really hurt a whole lot? Not really, because you haven't gotten down to the nerves, the pain nerves, okay? And I mean, I can scratch myself like this and, you know, it doesn't really hurt. So, I guess it's because there's no nerves there, there's no blood vessels, it's not gonna bleed, okay? The papillary region, excuse me, the dermis region is where all your blood vessels are, all your nerves. So if you get a paper cut and it really hurts, how far down have you gone? Down into the dermis, okay? Does the dermis shed like the epidermis? No, it's pretty permanent. So where do you want a tattoo to occur? You want to put the ink from that into the dermis, okay, so that it doesn't fade, doesn't go away. If you want a permanent tattoo. If you have or are going to get a tattoo and you think you might want to get it lasered later, don't get blue or green. It won't get lasered off. I'm not saying from personally myself, but I do know people who have had it done that blue and greens cannot and will not come off with lasering. So
Is there a reason that just those colors?
it's just the dye is not affected by the laser. Reds, blacks, I guess those are fine, but the blue and greens, they don't like lasers. So there you go. That's what I've been told. What else does the papillary region, what does the papillary region do? Why is it beneficial? Give us our fingerprints. Why is that beneficial?
To grip stuff.
Grip stuff, exactly. Not only for identification, but to grip stuff. If you had all smooth skin, you went to grab something and your hands were just a little bit slippery or wet, what happened? Or if it was a wet outside, you know, go to grab your door handle, slip right off, punch yourself in the face. You know, I wouldn't know that either. Never happened to me. All right, so yeah, it's going to give you grip as well as it's going to give you identification. Okay. What is it that causes fingerprints to occur?
I don't know, just
The ridges. What ridges? Dermal ridges and the no. The dermal ridges. Well, we'll probably go a little farther on to get it, but it's the hold on a second, I'm blanking. Ready ridges, dermal ridges, or papillary. The dermal papillae or the epidermal ridges. Okay, so the dermal papillary are the uprises in the dermal, or the dermis, and the epidermal ridges are where the epidermis comes down. Okay, so think of it like mountains and valleys. Where you have a mountain coming out of the dermis, that's the dermal papillae. Where you have a valley in the dermis or have a ridge in the dermis, epidermis comes down, that's an epidermal ridge, also known as a rete ridge, R-E-T-E ridge. Okay, so those two ridges, they kind of interlock. Why is that important?
to prevent shearing.
Yeah, prevent shearing. What happens if they're just like this? You have two flat surfaces on each other, and you fall and put your hand down. Who works rest homes? Anyone in the CNA in a rest home? This happens a lot to older people. Another way that happens is they put compression socks on them, you know, to help blood circulation, and they just pull the socks down without